So at this point, I hadn't even seen a machine gun with my own eyes, let alone heard one. So I hear the machine guns going off and I see the tracer fire arcing over my head and I feel my heart just drop. It's the craziest experience. So this was Army basic training. So they had herded us all, the trainees, into this huge gully. I didn't even know what it was at the time, but now looking back, it was actually a trench. The same way a trench would be in like World War I. And on the other side of the field, there was 2 machine gun turrets. Well, actually not 2, there's probably many machine gun turrets. They had this machine gun called the M249, I believe. No, these were M240s. They had full M240s. So the way it works is a machine gun fires 5 rounds and then a tracer round, then 5 rounds and then a tracer round, so that the machine gunner knows where the rounds are landing. So we could see these tracer rounds arc over us, and then we hear our drill sergeants whistle with this long metal whistle, the same kind which they would have used in like World War I. This was a training exercise. It was called Nick at Night is what we called it. It's Night Infiltration Course, NIC. So it's Night Infiltration Course at night. Kind of redundant, but redundancy is what the Army is about, not gonna lie. So there we were. We were crawling, a low crawl. It's the most uncomfortable way you can possibly get across a piece of ground. You're literally face first on the ground, completely flat. Not even your legs can come up. You have to just crawl, and you have your weapon, you have your helmet, you have body armor, you have freaking your canteens, you have all this kit on you, and you're just trying to get forward, and so much effort for even moving a few inches. And they had made it like it was a beach. They had made it like sandy and gravelly. So it's terrible. Like we were ripping skin off our elbows and shins as we try to get through this patch of land. So this was a simulation exercise. They wanted to show us what it would have felt like to be a soldier in World War I, being told to rush the other side. The sergeant whistles and they've got to get out of the trenches. We have to start going. So this was one of the most memorable experiences I have from Army basic training. In this video, I'm going to share some of those experiences and also make something called a mango lassi, one of my favorite drinks of all time. And this is actually going to be the best mango lassi video on YouTube. And this isn't even a cooking channel, so you're welcome. So what do we need to make the mango lassi? You need milk. And notice that this is a glass bottle of milk. Why glass? Because plastics contain phthalates, and phthalates will leach into your milk, and that will make the milk essentially toxic. It'll poison your testosterone production, poison your hormonal production. And even if you're a woman watching this, phthalates aren't good for you either. It messes up your hormones as much as it messes up any male's hormones. And then we have some 5% Greek yogurt. So 5% is as much as you can possibly get. It's very fat-filled, very highly calorie dense, very nutritious, and very creamy. So it adds a good amount of flavor. Then we have honey. This is the really good quality honey. So when you're looking for honey, the best is to get local honey from a local farm. So this is what that is. If you aren't able to get that, at least look for raw and unfiltered. The best is unheated. If you can get unheated honey, that's the best possible. Then we have heavy whipping cream. This is not an essential ingredient, but if you have it, then good for you, right? It'll taste better. It'll make the texture better. And then we have vanilla extract, another unconventional ingredient in this mixture. And of course, we have the mango chunks. So you also need something to measure with. So what we do is, well, get back to the Army stories. The best part of Army training, especially looking back, is that for 6 months of your life, no, it's more like 7 months of your life, you're literally forced into the most extreme monk mode you've ever heard of. No phones, no internet, no books, nothing. Just pure single-minded focus on the training. Now, don't get me wrong, we goofed off quite a lot, but even then, there was no internet, there was no distraction, there was no porn, there was no drugs, there was no alcohol, there was no smoking. So every possible sin that you can imagine, all the addictions of modernity, removed for 7 months of my life. And I do believe that that catalyzed some of my later successes. So first thing we need, Greek yogurt. So how much Greek yogurt do we need? We need 1 cup of Greek yogurt. So regarding quantity, right? I'm going to do a 1:1:1. So I'm going to use the same amount of yogurt as I'm going to use of milk as I'm going to use of heavy whipping cream. You can obviously adjust these quantities depending on how much you're making, right? So that's about 1 cup, a little less than 1 cup to be honest. Another memorable event in my Army training was the first time I looked at the sky wearing night optic devices, so nods, night optic devices. It's basically, you know in the movies they have the green vision that you can see at night. First off, those are actually amazing pieces of kit. If you look at the sky wearing nods, you will see how many stars there actually are, because it's obviously very sensitive to light, right? So if you can see, say, 10,000 stars with your naked eye, you'll see 100,000 stars if you're using your night vision optics. And it's beautiful. Looking at the sky through the night optic vision is one of my favorite little stories from the army. So we have about 1 cup of the Greek yogurt, more than sufficient. Go ahead and put that away. But trust me when I tell you, not every single experience in army training is a good one. For example, there's something called land nav. So land navigation. I'm adding 1 cup of milk, more or less. So none of these quantities have to be exact, by the way. So land nav is when they put you into this nasty ass forest. So I did my basic training in a place called Fort Benning, Georgia. And trust me, you don't want to go to freaking Fort Benning. Fort Benning is the home of the infantry. It's where the infantry is trained, and it's the worst. It's the absolute worst place on the planet. It's hot, it's humid. The forest literally stinks because there's so much decomposed material on the forest floor. It's just nasty, man. The worst part is the spiders, man. So there's big ass banana spiders. So they're spiders like this big, bigger than my hand probably. Like wide, big boys, big spiders. They're everywhere, like every single 2 trees. There's 2 trees, there's a freaking spider web between them and a big old spider sitting right in the center. This is nasty, nasty woods, not the kind of nature. Like I like nature, but not this kind of nature, you know what I mean? Disgusting woods, big ass spiders. And it was hard to do land nav. So land nav is basically, they give you a map, they give you a compass, and they give you a protractor, and they give you like a pen to mark stuff. And they give you points on the map. Like you have to go to these points, and each point has a number. And you need to take the number down so that when you come back, you can show your drill sergeant the number and prove that you in fact found all the points. So during the daytime, it was already hard because we had to go through all these dense woods, trying to avoid the spiders as much as possible, and then still find your points through these swampy lands. And there's like actual snakes. There was copperheads, and I've seen a copperhead in the wild, and it's just nasty and difficult to get through terrain. But it was hard during the daytime. In the nighttime, it was the worst. I was trying to get to a point at night, and I remember distinctly, you use something called a red lamp or a red lens when you're going through the forest at night. It's just a red flashlight. And by the way, you're not actually allowed to use it at night. So during night land nav, it's pitch black. No lights allowed, nothing allowed, because you're trying to be as stealthy as possible, right? So when I turned on the red lamp just briefly to see what's around me, I see 100,000 beady little eyes staring back. I didn't realize it, but I was in the center of those huge, huge spider web. And if I had taken 10 steps forward, I would be drenched in spiders. I still have that memory. It's disgusting. Immediately I was like, I don't care what the drill sergeant says. I am not walking through there to get to my point. So yeah, I got penalized, but man, I am not walking through freaking spider nests. So then we add our heavy whipping cream. So this is gonna be about 3/4 of a cup. And that's our mixture. Hopefully this all fits in here. We'll find out, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it all through. There it is. And yeah, it all fits. It's good. But land nav wasn't all bad. On another night, or maybe it was the same night, me and 2 other friends, who I'm not going to name obviously because of confidentiality reasons, me and them, we were doing land nav. We were trying to find our points, and we find this opening in the forest, all right? We find this huge opening in the forest. So Fort Benning, Georgia is densely forested. So an opening in the forest is pretty uncommon. For some reason, this huge patch of land had no trees, had no vegetation whatsoever. It literally looked like the surface of the moon, completely barren. It was like sandy and gray for some reason. I'm not sure why. So one thing we lose as adults is our ability to play. We don't do things just for the sake of doing things, you know. Everything we do is calculated. Everything is strategy. Everything is tactics. Everything is for a goal. When you're a child, you play just for the sake of playing. And during a brief period, very brief period of my time in the army basic training, I actually got to play. So me and my 2 friends found this weird landing zone like place in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Georgia's worst woods. And for whatever reason, it all got into our heads, like this is such a cool and interesting place. And we just played, you know, we just ran for no reason. We threw stones for no reason. We were jumping and acting out the moon landing. It was like we're just frolicking for the fun of it. And I will never forget those moments. We also did other stupid things, but those are confidential. And the army is where I learned that you can sleep anywhere. Some of the best sleep I've ever had was literally curled up in a black trash bag on the forest floor because it was freezing, and I slept like a baby, right? I still had my backpack on because if they tell you to go, you need to move. So best sleep ever, sleeping with my backpack on in a trash bag on the floor of a forest. And then also, like, even in the barracks, right? You're not allowed to sleep in the barracks at all. If they find you sleeping, if I catch you sleeping, it's game over. So you have to be very stealthy with your sleep. People will sleep in the bathrooms, people will sleep under beds, all kinds of things. Some of the best sleep I got was literally on the ground, flat on the ground, with a rolled up t-shirt as a pillow, and I was knocked out for like hours because we were just so tired all the time. And then we cannot forget to add our honey. So how much honey am I adding? I will add a good 2 solid tablespoons of honey because I don't have a problem with honey. I know it's sugar, but sugar isn't necessarily bad for you. It's the processed refined carbs which mess you up. I mean, I'm not saying go overboard with it, right? A little bit of honey isn't going to hurt you though. And then we start to blend it. Hopefully, oh my fucking God. Okay, damage control. So it already tastes really good. Already it's nice, refreshing drink, very flavorful. These are just frozen mangoes. You can use frozen mangoes, normal mangoes, you can use whatever you want. Got that strong mango taste, which is exactly what I want. I'll actually add some more mango. So how much mango am I adding? I'm adding about a big handful of mangoes and a splash of vanilla essence. This is not something you'll find in traditional Indian recipes. This is something I added because it tastes good. And then we'll give it one last blend. And we are ready to serve. Another thing I really disliked about the army, or basic training especially, is the fact that there is group punishment. So what group punishment is, if one person messes up, the philosophy is everybody else messes up too. I understand where it's coming from, right? If you're actually on a battlefield and one person messes up, literally everybody could get killed. So I understand the philosophy, but in practice what happens is you may have zero control over what somebody else is doing, but everybody gets punished for the actions of one person. And the fact of the matter is, some people just don't care, right? Some people just don't care about doing well in the training environment, and they will keep messing up because they simply don't care, and everybody else gets punished. And it's very demoralizing. You know, you want to have control over your destiny, and that's what actually helps people improve and grow in life, is when you feel that your actions either bring you rewards or punishment. But in the army, especially in the basic training environment, what I found is, it doesn't matter how good you want to do or how bad you're doing. The end result is you get punished for everybody else's behavior. And you only have so much control over what other people are doing. As a trainee, you are not going to be able to tell other trainees what to do because they aren't going to listen to you, right? Somebody wants to be a shitbag, they're going to be a shitbag. I found this extremely demoralizing. I did my best in training for the first few months. And after that, I wanted to give up because no matter how good I did, there was no reward whatsoever. It's only punishment. And that's not the way you set up a good training system. So obviously I don't have the authority to change anything about training whatsoever. So there's no point in me even saying this. But if you end up going to some kind of army training, then expect unfairness. If you do good, you won't be rewarded for it. And if you do bad, you'll get punished for it. If somebody else does bad, you'll still get punished for it. So it's very demoralizing. I don't like the culture. I don't like the logic behind it. I think you should get rewarded for doing well, but that's just how it is. And serving my extremely esoteric mango lassi. Here we go. Look at that. Perfection. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the perfect summer drink. Finally, we have some sun here in the Midwest. Using a metal straw. Why? Because we want to avoid plastics. Is that right? And then, how does it taste? So good. It's hard to communicate taste on a video, right? But this stuff is just so good. It tastes like you're drinking a mango. It's amazing. You gotta try it. I know you guys liked my esoteric eggnog recipe. This tastes even better than that, if possible. Now, it's not as good in terms of nutrition as the eggnog recipe because that has eggs and that has fats. But this isn't that bad either because it still has fats from the milk and the heavy cream and the Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is a power ingredient. So this is a very healthy drink. Now the honey and the mango make it very carbohydrate rich, makes it very sugary. So if you wanted to, you can just decrease the amount of mango and honey and make it more nutritionally optimized. But it's up to you, right? If you want to go for taste like how I did, then enjoy it, own it.